welcome to FarmRPG. Bellogan here. Today we're going to talk about the sawmill and the economics of it. So this is going to be a similar comparison to what we did when we were looking at wine versus the bank. So the sawmill is a building you can unlock once you have built your forest. To build your forest, you've got to be level 20 exploring, and it costs 150,000 silver to do. The sawmill costs 750,000 silver, and when you first build it, it's not going to produce anything, but then it will start producing, when you upgrade it, a cost of 750 initially, and then an incremental cost of 750 silver, start producing that many planks per hour. So when this first introduced, it wasn't necessarily a great investment, but with a relatively recent update, we have had a new item you can craft in the sturdy shield. So if I come in here into boards, you take 4 of these boards, you make a plank, you take a plank, and 6 nails and 6 iron, and you can make a sturdy shield. Now, sturdy shield sells for 4,600 silver as its base cost, which is really, really good. And then if you have your silver selling perks on top of that of 60%, it's going to sell for, let me pull this up here again, I always forget the number off the top of my head, 6,400 silver per sturdy shield. So that ends up being a pretty good profit. So what we wanted to do was compare making a large investment into the sawmill and figuring out, is it better than just taking that investment and throw it in the bank, and where are your break-even points on that? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make an analysis saying you've got a bunch of silver and we're going to throw it in, and we're going to compare making 100 boards an hour versus 200 an hour versus 400 an hour, maybe 800 an hour. So to figure out the total cost, I like to use this integration calculator online. And what we'll do here is put in our formula, 750x, that means that the incremental cost is 750x is the number of upgrades we do, plus your initial 750. And then you just put in your bounds here, so 0 to 100. And that's going to give me a silver cost down here of 3.825 million silver. So we're going to start populating our spreadsheet here with those values. And I'm going to build the spreadsheet in Google Docs. It might be just a little bit clumsy because usually I do this in Excel. But anything you can do in Excel, you can pretty much do in here. So we're going to make this our total investment. I'm going to make another cap per day. I'm going to explain this here in just a moment what all these numbers are. All right, so we have 100, 200, 400, and 800, just to kind of see where we're at. So my initial investment here for 100 planks is going to be this value plus my cost to build the sawmill. We'll go ahead and throw that in there. So I'm going to say equals this plus my 750,000 silver. So roughly 4.5 million silver to bump it up to where you are making 100 planks an hour. It might seem like a lot, and you wonder, am I ever going to make that back? Yes, you will. Don't worry. All right, let's come change these bounds in here, and let's change this instead of 100. Let's look at our total investment for 200 planks an hour. Give it a moment to calculate. Grab my value here, and we're looking at about 15 million for that kind of an investment. So this is going to be equal this plus my initial silver. Rinse and repeat for 400 boards an hour. Now a caveat on this is you have to worry about inventory limits. I've got an inventory limit of about 850, but if you've got a lower inventory limit, that's going to start having a huge impact on the feasibility of some of this stuff. And that's where the plank capacity, how much can you actually capture, come into play. So you get 400 boards an hour, it's about a 61 million silver investment. And 8 gets ridiculous. We're going to throw it in here anyway. I ran the numbers on this earlier, and 8 kind of never pays off. We'll just say that. Not for a very, very long time. Eventually it will, but it takes an incredibly long amount of time. Oops, I want that to be equals this plus my initial investment, which is pretty small compared to, let's see, to get their numbers in there. Yes, I did. All right. How much can you actually capitalize on your planks per day? So if I'm making 100 an hour, that means once I've gone 8 hours, my next segment I'm not going to be able to fully use, assuming I have an inventory space of 800. If I've only got 200, my starting, it means I've only got 2 hours of capacity I can use. So the assumption we're going to use is I'm going to sleep for 8 hours. Anything that goes over in that, I'm not going to be able to capitalize. We'll assume that magically I've got enough time in the day to hop on and at least make planks out of all these boards every day. And remember, it takes 4 of these planks to make a board. So my capacity here per day, and we're doing it by day instead of by hour because we're comparing this to the bank that compounds daily, is going to be my amount here divided by 4. And over 8 hours, I'm not going to overflow, so we can utilize our full 24 hours. So I'm going to get 600 planks for the day. Sure, go ahead and autofill. We're going to correct these values. All right, at 200 planks an hour, I'm going to start to hit an issue. I'm not going to be able to capitalize all of that because after 4 hours, I'll have hit my limit, and then we've got 4 hours of wasted productivity. So we're going to only make this times 20 because that's all I'm going to capture. Even in this ideal scenario, I'm still going to sleep for 8 hours. So I'm not going to be able to capture that. All right, at 400 planks, after 2 hours, I've hit my 800 capacity-ish. And so I've got another 6 hours of lost time. So we're only going to be able to capture 18 hours of production. And with 800, I'm losing 7 hours of productivity, really, on that. So let's just say 8 for even sake, and we'll say I'm only capturing 16 hours of productivity because every hour you got to get on and log that. All right, let's look at our actually profit per shield here. So this is equal to, we said 6,400 total selling price minus it costs 270 to craft the shield. It's going to cost 6 iron at 50 each. That's 300. It's going to cost you the 6 nails for making the shield plus the 1 nail for making the plank. So that's 7, and then 2 silver for crafting the plank. So a total profit of 5,821 silver per shield that we make. So my daily profit here is going to be equal to my actual plank capacity times the profits per shield. And I'm going to come in here and put little dollar signs in front of the B and the 8, which just means when I copy these rows later on, when I just copy this down C2, for example, here it's going to go to C3, but the B8 I want to stay locked so that it keeps on those values. So here's how much I'm making per day. So at 100 planks per hour, if I capture all of that, I'm making a profit of 3.4 million silver per day. So you can see you're actually going to recoup your investment cost pretty quickly on that. 120 days. I'm going to throw this in here. We're going to look at our values of the number of planks after 120 days, how much more money we could have made by building the sawmill versus the not. All right, now we want to start looking at how this is going to progress over time. So I'm going to put my sawmill in here. And I'm going to put the bank, and the bank I'm assuming 4% interest with all the perks unlocked. If you don't, it's 1%. These numbers change drastically, and the sawmill is even better in that case, similar as with wine. It looks better. So we're going to start with my initial investment, and this is going to be equal to negative of this because I have some cost up front. So I'm going to start off in the hole with the sawmill, whereas the bank we say, you know what, let's just take all this silver, just make it negative this cell again. That way when I want to change my value, I only have to change one number here. So in the bank, I start off with this amount of money. So the way the bank works is every new cell, I'm going to have this value times 1.04. And then I can just take this and copy it however many days we want to run out. Let's run out 120 days. Like that. I go to 121 because the first row is captured. So this is how much money I'd have in the bank. Now notice this really should be rounded because you don't get these decimals on here. But we're looking at a pretty good number there. About 486 million in the bank if I just threw that in after 121 days. And the only reason that works is because with 4% interest about every 18 days you're doubling your amount of money, and it just keeps building up. All right, for the sawmill, I also want the difference here. Our cell is going to be equal to the previous day, not the sawmill, no, F2, sorry, plus my profit for the day. And the profit for a day is going to stay in that cell when we copy this. So again, we're going to put the little dollar signs in front of that to keep those consistent. And take that cell and we're just going to copy it through. 220 days. And then we are going to look at the difference. And this is going to be just equal to this cell minus the bank to see which is better. So a negative number means I had more money sticking it in the bank. And a positive number means, I'm sorry, a negative number means I had, a negative number means I had more money sticking in the bank. Positive number means I had more money investing in the sawmill. So just looking at this really quick, I can see I start off initially, obviously you're in the hole. It's better to go with your money in the sawmill versus the bank. And then quickly it goes positive, which means by about day 6, really by day 5, you're having more money by putting it in the sawmill than you did by the bank. But if we continue on for a while, you're going to hit a point where that changes. Right out here about 116 days, all of a sudden, that was a better investment to stick in the bank. It might look like that, but there's one more caveat here to this. And that is that once I've gotten my money out of the sawmill, I'm not going to just sit on it. I'm going to take that money and put it back in the bank at that 4% interest rate. We want to be gaining with it. We want to reinvest it. So once I've gone positive, here I'm positive, what I'm going to come do is on this cell, I'm going to take the previous day's value and assume I threw that in the bank. So we're going to take that times 1.04 and then add the day's interest. So I can take this cell now and copy it through everything. And now I can see if I take that money out of my sawmill and stick it in the bank, I'm always better off. And in fact, by doing that, by the end of it, I'm actually a huge amount better off. See if I count my zeros here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm about 825 million silver off, better having built that sawmill with 100 boards per day than I would be otherwise. So we're going to come take this value and we're going to come plug it in here. And we want just the value. Let's just graph this really quick. Let's insert a chart. Throw it over here. A couple things we're going to do. Use row 1 as headers. And then what I really want is I want this to be, let's see if I can figure out if I customize this here. I really want this to be on a logarithmic scale. All right, so here we go. So if I hadn't done the interest on here, and we'll see this when I change numbers here, you'll have a region where the sawmill in blue passes the bank and then it goes underneath it. But here you can see your difference on a logarithmic scale. Once it hits a certain value, consistently stays that logarithmic value higher every single day. So that's 120 days if I decide to put in that initial 4.5 million investment. All right, let's look at this at 200 days. So to do that, I'm just gonna come over here to my sawmill. I'm gonna change this from B2 to B3. Now I have to change this value from D2 to D3 here. And then I'm gonna take this and copy this back in over every cell, out to 120. Update. All right, here's a chart I'm talking about. So the sawmill, after a certain number of days, goes positive, becomes better, and then because of the curve, eventually the bank becomes better if I wasn't reinvesting my money. So we can see that here. Again, we're going to come in here though and assume we're throwing that money into the bank. So mix times 1.04, then plus my interest. And let's take that formula, copy it through the rest of the series. And there you have it. Looks a very similar chart, exactly what I expect. What I really want to do is grab this last day, the difference in value, and come plug it over here. And again, I want just the value. Let me try one thing here. Can I come, I'm not sure how to do this. I wanted to format these cells. Conditional formatting, maybe? No, okay. I'm not sure how to do this in Google Sheets, and I don't want to figure it out on the video, but just make it so it puts the decimals in there for me. But you can see, we had let's see if I break this out. Like, anyway, it's a huge number. It's 120 versus 8 when we're looking at here for how much more we're getting going 200 planks per day. I think it's 8 million more here, or is that 8? No, that's like 8 billion more, and this is like 120 billion more silver, or something like that, or 12 billion more silver. So a pretty good upgrade up there. All right, let's do really quickly. Let's come in and look at this for 400 planks per day. So this is going to go B3 to B4. Here, this is going to go D3 to D4. And I'm just going to copy this one here once. And we'll just keep this up until it goes positive. So it takes a little bit longer to go positive with that investment of 61 million. And then we'll come change the formula here. And we will copy that for the rest of the series. I might have missed a day of interest there. We'll figure that out here really quick. No, I got it. Okay. All right, so here's my charts. Again, you can see the Sawmill takes a bit longer to pass the bank than eventually it does. Let's come grab my value out of here. How much more is it better? Go away, error. That I don't care. All right, I want it to value only. So here we can see, because of that cost of that initial investment, after 120 days, the amount that I'm better actually isn't that much more. It's 6 instead of 12 million that we're different here. Going out to 120 days. So seeing this trend, you saw we kind of had a peak in there. If I come and do 800 now, so we're going to go to B5, and then also make this D5 for the value that we're going up. Take this and let's copy it through here. How long is it going to actually take to make a profit? Quite a few days. So here we will change our formula. Oops. Times 1.04. And then I can take this formula and copy it throughout the rest of our series. And the thing that you'll notice is it takes a really long time to even start to go positive on this. All right, let's grab that value, plug that in here. Value only. So it's only 3 million better to go up to 800 planks. Or is that 3 billion? Let me count my zeros. There's my 1,000. There's my 100,000. Yeah, million. So 3 billion better after 800, or after 120 days. So what this really shows you is that there is a point where you kind of get a peaking on your return of investment over a certain period of time, where it makes more sense to buy a certain number of boards. Now, if I drag this on longer, this number did start to go positive. You know, if we look at this over a year, then the 800 plank starts to look like a better deal. If I go on to 200 or 2 years, you know, it's even more so. But you kind of got to look at what's your return. You know, realistically, are you going to play FarmRPG for 3 years? I don't know. Maybe you will. Are you going to consistently keep up on your boards that entire time? You know, I don't know. So a lot of conditional things to look at in here. But kind of the sweet spot, if we're looking at 120-day period, and just comparing throwing that money in the bank versus investing it all in the Sawmill. If you've got 15 million silver to spend, you can throw that in the bank. Or you could throw it in the Sawmill, and if you throw it in the Sawmill, you'll end up after 120 days, 12 billion silver better off than you would have been just throwing it in the bank. So there you go, kind of a fun analysis. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of mistake or something in here if I did something wrong, but hopefully just give you a little bit of insight on how to look at these things and analyze them. Way too much math for a simple farming game. You don't have to do this much if you don't want to, but you get a kick out of it. So with that, I'll say thanks for watching.